What's going on, everybody? Jay Howe here, bringing you another edition of Broadcast Heroes. And in this one, we are bringing you the finals from the Go4Heroes number 45 tournament. And that's going to be featuring 2Arc Gaming versus Squirtle Squad. And joining me on the mic is going to be Riker, and he's going to be there along with me, casting this best of three. And before we get to the action, we're going to take a look at some of the key elements between this matchup of 2Arc Gaming versus Squirtle Squad. And looking at the draft, we have Squirtle Squad, and that is Daihu, who's going to be playing at Muradin, Tiger JK on Kael'thas, Evandride on Vala, Goku on Raynor, and June, who's going to be on Uther. And on the 2Arc side, we have Sunshine on Johanna, Crone on Jaina, LZ Gamer on Sanya, Insomnia on Karazim, and Trader on Tassadar. And taking a look at some of the picks there for Squirtle Squad, they did pick Kael'thas, and Kael'thas on the Sky Temple map. That is a huge area for contest, and being able to plop that Phoenix down is the ultimate zoning technique and ability that Kael'thas will be using. So we'll take a look at that. That living bomb as well after that level 13 talent is another thing to keep an eye on, because that can spread some serious damage and really cause teams to spread out, which can change the aspect of any fight at any time. Looking at the 2Arc side of things, we have Trader, who's going to be on Tassadar, and we've seen Tassadar make a huge push into the meta after the recent patch. Those shields that come around much more quickly and have much more effectiveness with his talent choices is a huge bonus, and we're going to be taking a look at Trader, who's going to be playing Tassadar. And looking at one of the combinations, I want to take a look at Tassadar and Karazim. Tassadar, his level 4 talent, Leeching Plasma, allows for healing from basic attacks. With Karazim hopping in, he's going to be healing those melee that are going to be around him naturally. And then he's also going to be healing himself on his third attack, which is his trait. So being able to get in there, get the extra damage from his basic attacks, which he'll already be using, getting more heals from that Leeching Plasma, just overall, you're going to see Karazim with a lot of sustain in those team fights, which is going to benefit 2Arc greatly. And so we're going to see just how that plays out, that great combination right now between Tassadar and Karazim. In this player highlight, we're going to be taking a look at Trader, who is the main tank and flex player for 2Arc. And on this match, he's actually going to be playing that flex role. That Tassadar is more of a hybrid. He's not going to do huge heals, but he does do a bit of DPS. He does do some fairly nice mitigation with those shields. So he's going to be on that. And taking a close look at Trader, who says he is a video game hobbyist and a min-max professor. I'm going to guess that's a self-proclaimed min-max professor. But we're going to take a close look at Tassadar, who's going to be manned by Trader in this match, and see just how well Tassadar is being played in the new meta. So let's get into the action, and we're going to be taking a look again at 2Arc versus Squirtle Squad in the finals of the Go4Heroes number 45. All right, welcome into the Go4Heroes 45 weekly amateur tournament. And in the finals, we have 2Arc Gaming versus Squirtle Squad. And on the left side, we have 2Arc. And on 2Arc, we have Johanna being played by Sunshine. Crone is on Jaina, LZ Gamer on Sanya, Insomnia on Karazim, and Trader on Tassadar. And on the right side, Riker, who do we have?
On the Squirtle Squad, we have Evandride playing Vala, Daihu playing Muradin, Tiger JK playing Kael'thas, Goku playing Raynor, and June playing Uther.
Yep, and as you can see early on, 2Arc going for the site there. As always, that is normally a contested area, but it looks like Squirtle Squad playing a little bit more conservative, knowing that 2Arc is a very strong team together, and we're going to see an engage here probably in the middle lane as the other two lanes get a little bit of soak in.
Looks like both teams are going for a 1-3-1 split, matching each other equally.
Yeah, and we can see that Raynor there is in the middle, and we're curious as we can see that he did choose Seasoned Marksman, and we're going to see if they do try and drift a little bit with him. And taking a look at the level 1 skills, Knight takes Pawn still there for Johanna, Deep Chill for Jaina, Warpaint for Sonya, Transcendence for Karazim, and Scion Fusion for Tassadar.
It looks like a lot of the action now has moved to the top lane, perhaps in preparation of the temples spawning.
Yeah, it's one of those things that very early on, it's very strategic early in the game because those two temples are the top and the mid one. So having the top lane contested by the time this comes up, which it's coming up in about 10 seconds, is very key. It allows you to get a decent amount of soak in to get that early XP, plus it allows you to push that lane, which is very important strategy-wise. And you can see in that bottom lane, we still have Vala and Sonya down there contesting. We have Tassadar soaking mid, as 2Ark says, hey, we're going to soak mid while the rest of the team handles the top, and they are doing just that.
Blue team playing very aggressively with Sunshine as Johanna, leading that phalanx, soaking up lots of damage. Red team does not have a warrior up top, as J-House said. Sonya is on the blue team as well. So without that engage tool, red team's playing a little more defensively.
Yeah, and you can see they actually got the takedown in that top lane on Jaina. Jaina not necessarily out of position, but 2Ark with the defense of the top lane. Again, they're trying to get a bit of that, temple from the top lane while they soak the rest and trying to get that XP advantage. But we have Squirtle Squad coming in and defending that top temple as Tassadar tries to maintain the middle in the meantime.
Tassadar now with his shields is able to have a lot of sustain, but he is soloing Muradin, but now Val comes in and gets the kill.
Yeah, nice takedown there. Tassadar, while he does have that dimensional shift to be able to get out of danger, it was just too much to take there with probably the stun from Muradin. I missed that on the camera, but following that up with Vala does make for a very nice attack there.
And blue team managed to get the final hits out of that northern tower. That was contested back and forth quite a little bit, but I feel like blue team might have come out with a little more hits on it.
Yeah, and you can see that they did manage to get that down with that fort already pretty much gone. And you can see that the cannon there, and we actually saw a Jaina takedown again in that top lane. And as we start to look at some of the level 4 talents, you can see that Vala is going for that multi-shot build. And as we take the camera down to that bottom lane, you can see that she is trying to make that push there. But Sonya, with those self-heals, is able to defend against that minion creep coming in. And not much has been done to that bottom lane by Vala.
Sonya has that great sustain with Whirlwind. Vala, a great poker, great solo laner. And you see she's actually had to fall back to help out her team a bit, but doesn't want to abandon the lane now that there are minions dying, coming back to soak that XP.
Yeah, and you can see that both teams making a focus on the camps here as the red team, Squirtle Squad, manages to get their siege camp on the bottom right, while in the top you actually see that 2Ark managed to get their bruiser camp that is now pushing in that top lane.
I think the Bruiser camp was the smarter pick because we're going to have the bottom temple spawning, and that's going to force red team to make a decision, defend up top or be late for the bottom.
Yeah, and you can see Karazim going up there to get a little bit of XP while everything dies around it. And right now we're pretty much dead even in terms of the talents. Both teams quickly approaching level 8, and as Riker mentioned, that bottom temple will be coming up here in just a minute. And you can see 2Ark in the bottom lane did manage to get their siege minions right on time, and there's that temple coming up in just a few seconds, which is going to that siege camp is actually going to be taken down there by Vala. Very nicely done. And you can see up in the top right there as the fight shifts up here, you can see a lot of damage going out, heavily contested for this bruiser camp. Who is going to take this?
June, as Uther has just a tiny bit of health, and Johanna goes down, and Jaina goes down. Red team, Squirtle Squad coming out the victors of this engagement.
Yeah, June goes in there with barely any health, but manages to get that stun, and then follows up with the kill. And you can see that Jaina went down there as well. So 3 members from 2Ark are down, but in the meantime, we did have Tassadar soaking in that temple to be able to get some shots, and now Squirtle Squad coming down to defend, and Tassadar with Traitor there did manage to get out just in time to avoid a death there by the hands of Squirtle Squad.
Squirtle Squad presently has a slight XP lead, and they have map control dominating the southern tower. They also were pushing the top lane. As you can see, the blue team now has to defend up top. They can't even afford to bring all their focus down to reclaim that southern tower.
Yeah, and I think they knew that they had to give it up, and then they had to get busy by farming the XP, because that temple was going to allow them to get to level 10 was Squirtle Squad, and 2Ark said, hey, we got to make sure and get some XP in the meantime, and they did just that. And let's take a look at some of those heroics that came in. For Johanna, we had Blessed Shield, and let's see, we've got some action going on here in the middle as Sonya goes down. And you can see a very strong push here as Hyperion goes up for Raynor, trying to get in there, and a blind comes in from Johanna, being able to mitigate some of that damage. And it looks like Muradin having to use Dwarf Toss to get out of danger there as Tassadar starts to push back and gives a little bit of sight for his allies.
It looks like Vala has selected Strafe as her ultimate. That's going to be a lot of damage coming from the red team. In fact, red team between Vala, Raynor, and Kael'thas, we're just going to see a lot of damage in these team fights.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's very important on this map, on those temples, on those shrines, that whole area is going to be heavily contested. So having a wide range of damage between Strafe and Phoenix is going to allow for massive AoE damage to go out. As we can see, 2Ark being aggressive here and taking the red team's siege camp as they start to force a fight here. And here we go. Let's take a look at some of the damage as Strafe starts to go out. And we can see Kael'thas on the retreat, getting hit by Blizzard and being taken down. Boom!
Goku trying to retreat, taking lots of damage. Murden coming back in. He's pretty wounded as well, trying to scare off the blue team. And we're at a standstill, but blue team definitely came out the victor there, taking down Kael'thas, buying themselves some time, and they also managed to get that camp, which Vala is now forced to fight off.
Yeah, and you can see that 2Ark being very aggressive here, trying to get this down. It's going to be the race to 13. That's going to be huge there. As you can see, they take down this fort here in the middle to get a bit of XP to start to build a little bit of a lead. And now we have the top and bottom. Now, one of the things that I love about this here is that you'll normally see the bottom one contested, because if you don't contest this, that boss is right there, and you will oftentimes see teams split to grab that boss instead of the bottom temple, which really can change the tides of battle right around level 10 to 13 here.
And very interestingly, both teams delayed. They both went south. Blue team delayed to capture Mercap, and red team just sort of, I think they were laying a trap. They were lying in wait.
Yeah, and while they were lying in wait, the blue team on 2Ark decided to grab their siege camp, which is what they were waiting for. And you can see a lot of damage going out here in that bottom lane. Is nice follow-up there from Blizzard as Muradin goes down. June goes down on Uther. Boom!
Kael'thas taking lots of damage, trying to sneak away, manages to scare off some of the 2Ark members.
Yeah, and you can see there, that was a huge amount of AoE damage coming in there from Jaina. Good crowd control there from everybody between Johanna and Jaina, allowing for a lot of big damage to go out. And the red team re-engaging, and you can see Raynor out of position there, got up too far and got hit by Jaina, goes down.
Raynor bringing down a ton of damage onto Blue Ark. However, no one in Blue Ark went down in that fight. They were rotating around that damage. They were keeping themselves alive. And now we're actually seeing 2Ark start to catch up on kills.
Yeah, and
they've also caught up on forts.
Yeah, and you can see that now they've also managed to get their level 13 talents, which is going to be huge right now. And you can see Johanna with Burning Rage, improved Ice Block for Jaina, Mystical Spear for Sonya, Relentless there for Karazim. And you can see this top temple now being contested as we see them start to make a push. And they're not going to be able to defend is Squirtle Squad, because without that level 13 talent, this is going to be a very tough fight for them. So they're just kind of hanging back and trying to see if they can get a pick off here, but they know that there's a possibility to be baited, so they are being very, very cautious. And they're pretty much having to forfeit this top temple in the meantime, which is devastating.
Murden trying to be a bit more aggressive, trying to lead his team into the fight, but his team is pushing south instead. Something of a two-pronged attack. I don't know if it was meant to be a distraction so that he can come in and capture the temple, but he did manage to get the final hits out of it.
Yeah, 2Ark playing it very safe there, but that fort goes down in that top lane, and it allows them to reach level 13, which allows them to catch up. However, 2Ark did just manage to get to level 15, and gets the top bruiser camp on their side that's now going to be pushing that top lane. And we're going to see if there's going to be an engage here, as both teams know that boss is still there. This middle lane is being cleared out, and we're going to see 2Arc now chasing, and you're going to see Squirtle Squad having to retreat, and they have their siege camp here. Will there be an engagement? This is going to be huge and can very, very easily change the tides of battle. If somebody engages here and goes down, that boss is there waiting to be taken.
We're seeing a lot of posturing here. We're seeing a lot of positioning. We're seeing this fight being delayed, postponed. Both teams are eyeing each other, sizing each other up. Meanwhile, Squirtle Squad taking that the siege giants, but then blue team comes in with the steal, takes it away from them.
Yeah, very nicely well done there. Yeah, that was huge there, as you saw Jaina dropping that blizzard down again. That huge crowd control, great coordination, and you can see all enemy members of Squirtle Squad go down. Huge boom there, and you're going to see a huge push on this bottom lane as the siege camp starts to come in. And we're going to see, are they going to try and take this keep down, or will they fall back for the boss? They now have hit their level 16 talents, which is what really changes the tides of battle. Again, having that level advantage with the red team on Squirtle Squad, nowhere even close. They did manage to get that down, get the XP that they needed. Will they fall back for the boss, or will they fall back for the temples? That's going to be a huge strategic move here from 2Arc.
Looks like they are indeed going for the boss. That's going to leave red team in a position where they can't even afford to defend the temples.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge, because if they manage to get this boss, which it looks like they're going to be able to do so, this is going to push that bottom lane where that has already been damaged and gone down. That keep is non-existent. Now we have both temples up. They're either going to have to try and force a fight, or they're going to have to fall back and defend, and either way, it does not look good for Squirtle Squad right now.
That it does not. Meanwhile, we have Karazim here as Sunshine, taking the middle temple. At the bottom, we have... No, sorry, that was not Karazim. That was Johanna, rather, and Karazim is at the south temple as Insomnia, whereas the rest of the blue team seems to be roaming around right now, maintaining map control.
Yeah, and you can see there the red team on Squirtle Squad did have to fall back to defend that boss, but they say, hey, you know what? This is our time. We have to go. We know that they're at the bottom temple. Let's see if we can take a 5-on-4 situation here in the middle and let that boss kind of get finished off by the core and see if they can defend here and try and get a pick off, because they really need a kill here, and they have to get to level 16 in order to make this interesting. But you can see 2Arc wisely retreating, knows that, hey, we can't be greedy and take all of this. It's okay to give up a few shots.
And look at that, the red team core did not take any damage. The shields just went down. They timed that perfectly with the boss. They dealt just enough damage to let the core finish him off.
Yeah, that was very nicely played by Squirtle Squad, knowing when and how to defend that boss, and then able to re-engage and get a few shots off of that to be able to do a little bit of damage to that middle lane. And you're going to see 2Arc here in the top. Are they going to go for this bruiser camp right beside Squirtle Squad? Are they going to force an engage? They're level 19. If they hit that level 20, they can pretty much force the fight at any moment. And you're going to see here, they are baiting them in. This is going to get very interesting very quickly.
The Hyperion goes down. The blue team trap was set. Red team went right into it. However, it doesn't seem to be really going in favor of the blue team. Red team has plenty of room to maneuver around, but red team taking lots of damage, and Raynor goes down. Muradin goes down.
Very nicely done there. The bait did not work right away, but they did manage to keep them engaged, and that might have been detrimental for Squirtle Squad. They should have retreated there, but it looks like now they're going straight for the core, and a lot of damage going out as we have 3 members from Squirtle Squad still down, and you can see Kel'Thas goes down there.
Goes down.
Yeah, and this looks like writing on the wall, as it looks like well-faced there being typed into chat, as 2Arc has now taken game 1. Very nicely played. You can see some huge strategic moments that allowed for just that slight XP edge that allowed for them to carry it on to the next level of fights, to be able to say, hey, we're going to control the map through this little bit of edge that we created every step along the way.
Absolutely well played by both teams, and I think what we saw throughout this match was blue team really being the aggressor here, despite having less DPS, and that was reflected early on. Blue team was not getting any kills. Red team was getting those kills with those high DPS assassins, yet blue team managed to maintain map control, managed to maintain the offensive, and offense leads you to victory.
Yeah, I think we saw a few early deaths there from Jaina, but that's to be expected, as you mentioned, with that Vala, Raynor, and Kel'Thas there. But in those late fights between Johanna with her toughness, Sonya's sustain, Karazim's sustain, and Tassidar's new and improved shields, that is a very tough team to deal with in team fights, and they just simply did not have enough damage to be able to ward off all of that defense with that backup offense there in crowd control from 2Arc Gaming. And that's going to do it for Game 1. We are going to move over to Game 2 and see how this best of 3 plays out, and let's check out the action there. All right, welcome into game number 2 of the best of 3 between 2Arc and Squirtle Squad for the Go4Heroes Amateur Tournament number 45. And we're going to see a wonderful game here on my favorite map, the Tomb of the Spider Queen. And on the left side for 2Arc, we have Sunshine on Arthas, Crone on Zagara, Trader on Leoric, LZ Gamer on Tassadar, and Insomnia on Karazim. And who do we have on the right side?
For Squirtle Squad, we have Dehu playing Muradin, we have Evan Drine playing Kael'thas, we have Tiger JK playing ETC, Goku playing Jaina, and June playing Malfurion.
Yeah, very early on here, this is normally the most contested lane in the middle. We see Tassadar with the sight there. They said, hey, let's see what's available, what's happening here. And you can see that all 5 members of 2Arc and Kael'thas now coming down to join on Squirtle Squad's side. Say that 3 times fast. And you can see an early engage there. Huge damage being put out on Sunshine. Very aggressive move there as Arthas goes down.
Arthas with no escapes. Once he's taking that damage, there's little that he can do to get out of there.
Yeah, it looked like a gravity lapse might have come in with a blizzard raining down and all sorts of crowd control on top of that. That ETC stun is nice. And then, of course, if they can follow that up with the roots there from Malfurion, could be very interesting to see how they can manage to coordinate all that. That's going to take a lot of coordination and a lot of skill as Tassadar being targeted there and goes down.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, we have Crone on Zagara being uncontested, just soaking XP.
Yeah, and those early kills are giving Squirtle Squad a little bit of an advantage, but again, getting there to be able to make sure, and we can see Tassadar saying that he's got a little bit of ping, a little bit of latency issues there, and you can see now these lanes are being split up, and as we have, let's see, we've got Arthas and Karazim in the top lane, Tassadar rotating up, and then we've got Leoric there in the middle. They're probably going to be doing a little bit of rotating here as they now all move to the middle.
Spider Queen, a great map to rotate on. Very small, very easy access from lane to lane. Lots of movement, lots of fluid action. Great map to play on.
Yeah, and we can see ETC, again, getting in there and getting the stun on Arthas, but managing to get out of there this time on barely getting out of there was Muradin getting that dwarf toss and being able to get out of there. And you can see Kael'thas having to retreat in this top lane, has to be very careful as 2Arc came over and said, hey, we're going to have a little bit of business if you come out a little bit further.
Now Squirtle Squad moving a lot of people down to the bottom lane, not letting that Zagara, that Crone, push that lane too hard. Left unchecked, Zagara can deal tons of damage and claim lots of map control. And with her little creep tumors, putting them near the turn-in points on this map gives great vision and great control to her team.
Yeah, and that's going to be a huge thing throughout the game, as we can see as we move to the top lane here. Kael'thas managing to hold his own, but going back to the comment that Riker made, as we can see another stun coming in there from ETC and taking down Arthas once again, and we can see Living Bomb there on Karazim managing to get out of there and get the shield from Tassadar to stay alive. But the part, as we mentioned earlier, having 2Arc with that visibility there, with Zagara's creep, can manage for some great takedowns. So it's got to be one of those things that the Squirtle Squad has to be able to be weary of, to be able to say, hey, we are being seen right now. We have to be very careful.
Meanwhile, Squirtle Squad has turned in 10 out of 50 crystals, but Blue also just turned in 9, so we're about even right now.
Yeah, as you can see, those early deaths there from Arthas probably lost them a few coins. They have 28 coins, does 2Arc, to 46 there for Squirtle Squad, but those do have to be turned in. Who's going to make that first engagement? Again, that bottom lane is pretty much wide open from Zagara, which means their only way to be able to turn in is the top one without being seen. As we can see another engagement here in the middle lane, which is really going to turn things interesting. And we're going to see who's going to win this battle as we have Kael'thas debating on whether to come in from that top area. And it looks like the tango happens there in the middle lane.
Meanwhile, Zagara has claimed her territory, but now she's getting grouped up on, and she will not be able to escape this as the entirety of the red team drops down on her and slays her.
Yeah, 13 gems go down, but Trader coming in on Leoric, managing to pick those up, and he'll be able to walk out of there if need be. Takes a stun there, but as you can see, he's going to get out of there safely with those 14 gems. Now, one of the things I want to look at here is the Nether win there for Kael'thas. That's going to be one of those things that if they can target somebody, they're going to be able to get them out and be able to say, hey, you know, we're going to grab you as fast as possible. This is one of those things that gravity lapse can be avoided by pro players, but if you can put that extra speed on it, it's going to be able to make for some decent crowd control, and it's very hard to avoid.
Meanwhile, red team is starting to sneak in some crystal turn-ins. They're up to 40 out of 50. They just need to turn in 10 more, and they're holding on to another 40.
Yeah, and it looks like they're here in the bottom lane, and maybe this bottom turn-in as Daihu goes to turn in there, and it looks like the first web weavers are going to go to Squirtle squad, and we see a slight XP advantage as they are just ahead, and if they can manage to get something down here, as you can see, Leoric being targeted there and being taken down with ETC. Are they going to manage to come in and get some of those gems? Yes, they do manage to pick up some of what was lost, but very nicely done again there by Tiger JK on ETC to get those stuns in with that power slide.
Meanwhile, in the top lane here, we have Kael'thas versus Tassadar, Evandride versus LZ Gamer, as the lanes are now being pushed by the web weavers.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is a one-on-one fight that Kael'thas wants to necessarily have with Tassadar, but doing a lot of damage there. As you can see, Tassadar having to get out of there and go invisible and say, hey, you know what, I can't deal with Kael'thas. And again, being taken down. Unfortunately, or fortunately for him, he does have that shield, which can eat that flame strike without a problem. And I'm going to go back down here to the bottom lane as ETC has to drop off. They did manage to get that gate down, and they're trying to get this other cannon down, but none of these forts have taken too much damage. And you can see, looking at the different lanes, not a lot went out there, not a huge push. Squirtle squad did not make too much of an effort to be able to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and force one lane. They all split, and they didn't have a huge effect, but that's to be expected very early on with those early web weavers.
Yeah, I think the split we saw was 1 top lane, 0 mid, 4 bottom. I saw that Arthas on 2-Arc was soloing that mid lane, fighting off the web weaver, and 2-Arc managed to hold their own very well.
Yeah, and a very early grab there of their bruiser camp from Squirtle squad going to push that middle lane. It's going to cause 2-Arc to defend a little bit, but we do see that Squirtle squad already turned in some gems. They have enough for another turn-in if they can coordinate it, but 2-Arc managing to heal up, and let's see if they're going to try and engage here. Squirtle squad about to hit that level 10 to get their heroics, which is going to be very interesting because 2-Arc not quite there. 2-Arc trying to get some XP because they do not want to engage right now. As we can see that Muradin is gone with Avatar, Phoenix for Kael'thas, Mosh Pit, the huge one for ETC, Water Elemental for Jaina, and Tranquility for Malfurion.
Now it looks like 2-Arc did just get their ults, but Zagara is out of position in this team fight. We have Arthas go down yet again.
Yeah, that's surprising that Arthas is being taken down so quickly, and, you know, that is who they're targeting. And who do they have to target? Because right now we have 0 assassins for 2-Arc in this game, so they have to target somebody, and Arthas is the unfortunate recipient of those deaths as we see a force wall going in there to manage to try and get a little bit of damage off, and we see Leoric there on the Trader having to retreat. But in the meantime, we have more web weavers coming in from Squirtle squad.
Crone Zagara was doing her best to try to come in, poke, deal some damage, knowing that it would take far too long for her to walk all the way around and get into proper position, was just skirting around the edges of the battle, trying not to let the enemy notice her enough to come down and focus her with her 0 escape powers.
Yeah, we see Zagara down in the bottom lane defending against this bottom web weaver as the middle has a lot of action here, which is where everybody else is. We see a 5-on-4 battle here, and you can see Zagara starting to move up from Crone. Let's see if we're going to see a Devouring Maul come in as everybody's grouped up, and we see a huge attack here. And there goes the Devouring Maul, 7-sided strike coming in. Force wall, huge force wall, blocks off Tiger JK, who now triggers his mosh pit.
Jaina goes down.
Jaina goes down. ETC could not get out of there. Malfurion goes down. Kael'thas goes down. Could this be the turning point for 2-Arc as they do manage to fend off a huge attack there as that Devouring Maw came in, that Force Wall came in from Tassadar, and then just huge crowd control, which is what they're going to excel at with this team from 2ARK.
Meanwhile, that turn-in wasn't exactly optimal. The bottom lane was not pushed at all, so the bottom fort barely took any damage. The top fort was taken out, but the center fort also was held off thanks to that great engage.
Yeah, and we can see on the bottom here, 2ARK manages to grab that siege camp, which will cause them to defend. And 35 gems there on Kharaz. He manages to dashing strike out of there and survive those 35 gems. You do not want to lose those right now. And the total right now for 2ARK, as they just turned in another 20, they still have 89 gems. And we're going to see if they're going to try and go back-to-back with these Web Weavers pushes. And we're about to see the level 13 talents locked in, which is going to be huge for both teams.
2ARK has now pulled ahead in XP, getting, again, very close to 13. This might be the turnaround for 2ARK.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with 2ARK's team composition here is that they are going to be very difficult to kill late game, and they're going to have huge sustain there between Kharaz and Tassadar. And then, of course, these self-heals from Leoric, and you can see they're now going to go ahead and push down this top fort and clear this top lane.
Unfortunately, this also was not an optimal turn, and even worse, in fact, than the previous Squirtle squad, because only one of these lanes is being pushed. Yeah, the other two have been held off entirely.
And you can see that Squirtle squad did manage to get that bottom fort pushed down so that they could get to level 13, but in the meantime, they're giving up this top lane as the front gate goes down, and this is going to open it wide open for a potential boss push later in the game, as now this back keep is the only thing that's left in place.
Big engage happening right now. ETC going in, mosh pitting, stunning maybe 1-2, stunning Zagara. Zagara goes down. Those shields came down to try to save her, but did not work.
Huge burst damage there during that mosh pit. Very nicely done by ETC. As you can see, Insomnia having to get out of there with Living Bomb on him. And you can see Arthas trying to get out of there. Seven-sided strike coming in, doing a ton of damage. ETC taking a bunch of damage, trying to retreat. Force wall there. Almost blocks his own team in. But you can see Leoric on the back line takes down Malfurion. Boom.
And ETC is about to drop, and he goes down, leaving only Muradin and Kael'thas retreating 4-2 right now for blue, and they're continuing their top lane push. They will take this fort.
Yeah, this is the huge part between Leoric being able to heal, being able to get out of there, and then those shields coming in from Tassadar. It allows 2ARK to stay in there and say, hey, we're going to go ahead and take this keep down because we can. We are able to sustain and we are able to shield, and we're going to do just that. A nice force wall coming in there as Trader tries to retreat. Nice leap in there from Muradin, but targets the wrong person. You can see Trader with Living Bomb not able to get in. The shield comes in just a little bit too late as Devouring Maw comes in and follows it up. Does Zagara, does huge damage there to try and fend off that push from Squirtle squad.
Zagara came in, nearly took out Muradin, nearly took out, I think that was also Kael'thas. Managed to fend off that red attack, stop red from coming in and killing any more of the 2ARK players.
Yeah, and I think what was very nicely done there, that Devouring Maw, following it up by those Banelings coming in, that was just very nicely timed, and they just sat there and ate it, did huge damage, and pretty much thwarted off what could have been a potentially devastating push from Squirtle squad, but that very nicely timed there. I believe that's Crone on Zagara.
And that gave 2ARK the time they needed to do that double back-to-back turn-in. We now have the second wave of Web Weavers for blue team.
Yeah, and you can see they're trying to split them off there with that force wall, but very nicely defended so far, as best that can be possible, as 2ARK now managing to hit level 16, and that's going to be a huge step up as they now have the experience advantage, and there's not going to be a lot Squirtle squad can do here, and you can see that top lane wide open for the Web Weavers, and that's allowing them to push in this middle lane, and that's going to give them a huge XP advantage, and Squirtle squad now has some catching up to do.
This was a huge play by 2ARK. This was a wonderful turn-in. They've taken down the bottom lane. That was pushed all the way. Top lane got pushed. They managed to destroy another fort in the mid lane. You can't really ask for more from a wave of Web Weavers.
Yeah, and that was great, but another huge force wall being put up there, allowing 2ARK to retreat. But again, Arthas, the one on that front line being picked on, and you can see now 2ARK having to retreat, and they're trying to get out of there. And you can see on this backline, Leoric is going to manage to stay and defend. And you can see some nice damage going out there from the Hunter Killer, from Zagara, very nicely done there to be able to defend a little bit to force, again, be able to force back this push that's coming from Squirtle Squad. And it looks like they might be debating on whether to go for this boss or not right now.
Well, with Arthas about to pop back up, I don't know that fighting for the boss is the best move right now. Especially that Squirtle Squad is wounded. Their tank is about half health. Tiger JK on ETC. Although they do have a second tank, a spare tank in case the first one goes down.
That is
and he
true.
just jumped over that beautiful force wall.
Yeah,
that would have taken him down.
That force wall came in and tried to single him off, but you can see that 2Arc says, hey, you know, we forced them to retreat, we did plenty of damage, and now we're going to go in here, we're going to go for the boss. They still have that level 16 talent, as we see that, oh no, they now realize, hey, we have to retreat. That creep that's down, the minion wave says, hey, it's the identifier, and they just did hit level 16, which makes this a much more even fight.
2Arc not committing to that boss fight. Wise move. They are now in a good position to engage Red Team or just scare them off once again.
Yeah.
Red Team here, Squirtle Squad might just be biding their time. Nope, we are engaging. We see the split with the force wall. ETC jumps in with the mosh pit.
Yeah, very nicely done there. Zagara goes down the mosh pit, followed up by the Phoenix from Kael'thas, manages to do quite a bit of damage as we see Tranquility coming in, trying to keep everybody alive. 2Arc having to retreat there. We have Tassadar and Karazim having to stay on that back line, but Leoric and Arthas staying on that front line, managing to fend them off.
Goku playing Jaina pulled some nice shenanigans. She was low on health, she was getting targeted down, but she walked around this little wall area. She did a little cul-de-sac and managed to save her life.
Yeah, very nicely done, and you can see that they're going to have a little bit of visibility there from Trader on Leoric, who's also healing himself up very quickly so he can keep an eye on this boss, and we're going to see possibly a re-engage here from 2Arc to try and steal this boss. They say, hey, you know, we know what's going on here, we're watching it this whole time, and you can see Leoric coming back up, 7-sided strike down there on Kael'thas. ETC having to get out of there.
Escaping.
Huge attack there. That Kael'thas attack left him unguarded, and Kael'thas went down, and that was a chain reaction to everything else. And now we see ETC here, who's going back in to say, hey, can I re-engage? ETC likely to be the next member of Squirtle Squad that goes down, as he is on the wrong side, and you can see Devouring Maul coming in, and we're about to see all 5 members go down. Huge boom there, and we have this top lane wide open for the boss and 2Arc to make a huge push.
There's a reason that the boss is called the Throw Pit. It is where you go to throw games. That said, I don't think Squirtle Squad was necessarily dominating. It was a Hail Mary play. It could have paid off. It could have been great. It was very risky, though, to do it with the blue team right there, with their members respawning so soon. Blue team knew they can come in, they can delay. Red team was very injured, and they did not come out on top.
Yeah, that was the huge moment there, and that early push, or that Web Weaver push from just a little while ago from 2Arc, that managed to stay in there and take that keep down is what opened the lane for this boss to come in. So that was a very strategic move, and they said, hey, you know what, if we have the opportunity to get that boss here in just a few levels, they're going to have enough damage, enough sustain to be able to push with that boss and possibly in the game, and they did just that.